Greetings, all our dear viewers. Welcome to the Holy Drive. I am Jimmy Hanks as usual. This evening, we are once again honored to be hosting a great woman, a lady that has served this nation for years. Ladies and gentlemen, the guest I have for you this evening, I've grown up hearing about her, I've watched her before, and today I'm honored to be hosting on the Holy Drive show. She was part of the group that I grew up hearing about, the likes of the late Maria Mutagambas, the likes of Honorable Namrebe Bitamazili, and other great ladies that were serving this nation back then. She's the former Minister of Agriculture. Actually, she served for, I think, 2 terms, and she left politics. Yet she was still very vital in this country. We shall know what forced her probably to quit politics that early, because she was still productive. We still talk about her up to date because of the legacy, because of the life she lived back then. She has also been a representative of the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. She has been in countries like China, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, North Korea, and many other countries. She's also the chairperson of the governing board of Uganda Agribusiness Alliance, and she's the author of the book titled The Farmer's Daughter. I want to know today the story behind The Farmer's Daughter. I don't know about your story, but for her, she's the farmer's daughter. She has walked the journey of politics for some years, but her name still sounds up to date. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll take a small break. When I return, I'll bring the guest house for you on board. Don't blink. I'll be back from that small break. I take the honor to introduce you the guest house for you this evening on the Holy Drive. You're welcome, madam.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. Good evening, viewers.
We're happy to have you, Honorable. You still look very young. How do you do it? How old are you? Actually, our viewers need to know about your age even before you go verified. I know many will be surprised how inclusive I was.
Yeah. First of all, it is a pleasure to be here. Secondly, when people ask how do you do it, I honestly don't do it. God does it. And I'm very happy to inform everybody that even if women don't normally say their age, this year I'm celebrating my 75th year. Thanks be to God.
I need to be there on that birthday. A lady of 75 years who looks like a girl of 40 years. It beats my understanding. Yeah. What's the secret behind that?
No, I don't think there is any secret. For some people, life has been gentle. Because by the time you turn 75, you have gone through a lot. Like you have been a baby. What did you go through as a young person, as a teenager, where you went to school, maybe your faith, your challenges, because some people really meet with big challenges so early in life that when you meet them, you are even surprised that they have survived.
I know.
So all that at the end of the day is the sum total of who I am. And as I said, I'm just thankful to God that I look the way I look and I feel the way I feel.
I know.
Yeah.
How has life been? You've been lost. I've not been seeing you for a while.
For the years of COVID, like everybody older than 60, I was certainly hiding under my roof. But before that, I was going on with my work, which is mostly agribusiness, which I do with the Uganda Agribusiness Alliance. There, what we do mostly is advocate for agribusiness and also look at policies, comment on policies, and advocate for policies which favor agribusiness. In addition to that, I'm now a member of the board of the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda, where I represent agribusiness, forestry, and fisheries. By the time I have done the work for Uganda Agribusiness Alliance and the work for Private Sector Foundation, very little time is left for me to be wandering all over the place.
I know.
Yeah.
You're utilizing your remaining time.
Exactly. To give back to society.
And that's very good. That's leaving a legacy. You're inspiring the next generation.
Thank you.
Like that should be your aim now. As you're growing older, you also need to inspire us, the young ones.
Yeah.
And that's why we're having you tonight on the Holy Tribe.
Exactly.
So, Honorable, we shall go back to the roots. Where
Yes.
do you come from?
For me, I was born in Iganga. There has always been Iganga Hospital has been there in one form or another. So I was born in Iganga, even if I'm not from Iganga, I'm from Jinja. And I love my district, even if in quite a number of cases, it does not appear on a number of lists. Whenever they are reading, this is going to happen, Jinja is never there. We are used to that. And we are going to
Sorry
live
about
with
that.
And we are going to live with that. So I'm from Jinja, and that is where I started my school. During our days, of course, there was no nursery school. So you go to school, you go straight to primary one. So that is where I started a school which used to be called Bugaya Primary School. Because many other schools came onto that village, it has changed its name to Nafugachi Primary School. But that is where I did my P1 and P2. Then end of P2, the school expelled me and my two sisters. Basically because our father, who was a policeman before becoming a farmer, objected to capital punishment. Said if my daughters do anything, I'm the only one who can punish them. The school has no right to administer capital punishment on my girls. So at the end of the year, the headmaster said, take them elsewhere, they can't be here. So really? P2, my challenges began. And my father had, because during those days, school ends in December and starts in January. He did not have a lot of time, but fortunately he had a cousin staying in Mbale. So we were whisked off from Jinja to Mbale, where they were teaching in Rujisu. In Jinja, we were studying partly in Lusoga, partly in Uganda. Now we are taken to Mbale, where medium of instruction is Rujisu. So you can imagine how we muddled. But, you know, sometimes when something bad happens to you, you don't know that God is preparing you for the future. That 1 year, I actually learned Rujisu so well that until now, Nimbola Rujisu.
What does that mean?
I speak Rujisu.
Rujisu. Greet them in that language.
Mlembe yaya, mwajinyala.
I can't even pick a single word. I'll need an interpreter.
Never mind. So just imagine if you are in P2.
You're still young. Actually, I was trying to read about you. I was told that your father was called to school.
Yes.
Why did he tell that the school administration? Something he told them.
But that if you cannot administer corporal punishment onto my daughter, if it has to be done, I'll have to do it myself. Yeah. And he also told them, you know, during those days, they would ask us to take brooms and take clay and take reeds, emuli. My father said, really, look at it. Who is going to cut these emuli? So she's not going to bring them. So at the end of the year, the school is like, take your daughters elsewhere.
Can you imagine? That was really so bad. But I think to give you a room to go and also learn the culture of other places.
Exactly.
So how do you left Mbale after which class?
After 1 year, my father saw that it wasn't going to work, so he brought me back. This time he took me to my maternal grandparents' place, which is in Bujiri. So once again, the medium of instruction was Lusoga and Luganda. And the P4 then is when you would start learning English. But then that particular school only had 4 classes. So at the end of that, my father had to find yet another school. So I moved again to a school called Walukube State School, which was in Jinja City now. And when I got there, all the instruction was purely in English. So here I am, Rujisu for P3, Uganda, Lusoga P4, then thrown into the deep end, English. And I told my father, this is tough. I said, my daughter, that is the way to go. In fact, what you do, don't even try to speak any Lusoga now. You have mastered enough. Just concentrate on your English. So anyway, things went very well, and I did very well. And at that time, the school to go to for girls in Busoga area was Iganga. We used to call it Iganga Girls Junior Secondary School. So I passed very well and was admitted there.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were there for...
I nearly was not there because after like around June, the headmistress discovered that I had not paid my school fees. And I think she thought that I had forgotten and left the money behind. So she sent me to get it. Of course, it was not there. So I spent the whole of June at home, the whole of July. Now, as July was ending, this headmistress seems to have realized that if she doesn't do something, I was going to be a lost cause. During those days, children would not just disappear. You know, like these days when you hear that so many did registered in P1 and these ones have disappeared. During those days, you didn't just disappear. So this headmistress sent a message to say, Victoria, come back to school with or without money, but come with your father. So when we got there, my father was told, we realize you have failed to find the money, we have found an alternative, so just let Victoria continue with her school. But then because she has been away for 2 months, major months, we suggest she repeats the class. And my father is like, who is going to pay? We are going to pay. I said, never mind. She can repeat. Victoria, do you mind? I'm like, no, of course I'm very happy to be here. That's how I managed to survive junior secondary school. Otherwise I would be a statistic, school dropouts.
So how did you finally go to Gayaza?
Yeah, because once some little problems are handled, like the little problem of school fees, I had nothing else to do other than study. I studied so well that I went to Gayaza with a full scholarship.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, actually, we used to go to Gayaza those years, and used to respect those girls so much. They used to conduct.
Have you stopped to respect
them? We still actually respect them. Back then, I was at SMAC. It's called the Chisubi. So we used to go to Gayaza, Namagunga, Navisunsa, but we used to fear Gayaza girls. Girls were so serious. They had their level. Eh?
Yeah.
Before you approach her, you have to arrange your words. You know.
You have to be ready. Yeah.
I miss those days. But later on, Namiyango College somehow took over Gayaza and SMAC were pushed, aside.
Don't worry, they are right back. Because last weekend, Gayaza was visiting Chisubi, and I was wowed by the arrangements Chisubi made for Gayaza. So when you say respect, I could see all the respect in the visit.
That's Gayaza. You saw the cars? These boys did their best.
And even the bus seems to have gone for a clean polishing. And I looked and said, Gayaza.
It was a nice prom. So anyways, Honorable, how was life all growing up back then?
When I was at home, when I would be at home, we used to eat what we grew. You wanted to eat it, you grew it. Even things like chicken. You want to eat chicken, you raise it, and then you eat it. You plan to eat cassava for December or January, you have to plant the cassava. You want to plant the sweet potatoes and even the vegetables. During those days, it was a shame for a man like you to go to the market and buy food. In fact, if you are my son and I came to visit and I find that you are leaving from the market, I would come back crying, telling my husband, oh my God, we are finished. This child cannot look after himself. He's depending on the market. So as we were being brought up at home, we were brought up to cook, to grow, produce, cook, and serve whatever we're growing. But even the schools I went to, both Iganga Junior Secondary School and Gayaza High School, those two schools were originally set up in order to prepare women who were going to marry chiefs. So we learned home management from the word go. For me, by the time I was 14, I could make my dress, I could make anything. I knew how to cook, I knew how to clean a house. By the time I was 16, I knew how to look after a baby, because when I was at Gayaza, we actually learned how to look after a physical baby. We had a baby at school, and when you were in senior 3, you'd spend 2 weeks staying with this baby, which I think was really unusual. So unusual that these days when we talk about it, some people don't want to believe that it happened. But I looking back, I think that was the way of our teachers telling us, if you want to meander into getting a baby before you are ready, this is what happens when you have a baby. I thought that was so original and so spot on. So later on, of course, we would, because you learn all that when you're in senior, after about end of senior 3, Then senior 4, you concentrate on your exams. And we were told, if you want to be a woman of substance, you had better pass your exams. Make sure nobody tells you to go and get married after senior 4. Come back, do your HSC, go to university. There are, I remember this Mzungu saying, there are more graduate men out there than you can. You just take your pick. So why take a senior 4 dropout when you can get a graduate? So we were told to stay in school, and we listened.
And God was on your side.
Exactly.
Because getting a scholarship at Gayaza,
Yeah.
it was not easy.
Not at all.
Because a girl from that village you've told me about, that place, you find yourself in Gayaza, you can't take it for granted.
Not at all.
Because being a daughter of a policeman, automatically financially
A
not doing
retired
well.
policeman who had become a farmer.
Can imagine.
Yeah.
So you also know how to dig. You could also go and dig once in a while.
Growing up, we had to dig. Like I said, you wanted to eat it, you produced it. So even if it rained, like this morning as it was raining, we would wait for it to stop. Even if it stops at 10 or 11, you still go and dig. Because my father's reasoning would be, you are going to eat. However little you dig today, tomorrow it will still be dug, so you can just increase. But you cannot just say, oh, it rained. It rained. God sends the rain and you do the digging.
Wow, wow.
So we grew up, we were doing all that, picking coffee. In fact, these days when I talk about coffee, the one thing I remember is quite often my father would leave me in charge and say, if it rains, make sure the coffee is not wet. So sometimes it would start drizzling, and I would put my hand out like this, and I'm like, that is very little rain, you can leave the coffee there. It's only now that I realize the damage that even little drizzle on your coffee can make. But at that time, I guess nobody had told us. So for me, I thought it is the big shower which should not fall on the coffee.
I know. So Honorable, after leaving Gayaza, you're on a scholarship. How was university? Did you also get the scholarship?
No, during those days, everybody who went to Makerere had a scholarship.
Oh.
And we did not only get a scholarship, after you get in, of course they tell you, you are getting in, you are going to reside in Mary Stewart, where everything is free board.
Can you imagine?
And both at Gayaza and Makerere, honestly, the meals were much better than what I used to have at home. Because like at Gayaza, would have cassava cheese, which I had never had. But these women, the women who were looking after us would make that food. I remember Wednesdays we would have a fish with groundnut sauce. For a whole school, fish.
I'm imagining.
Then when we went to Makerere, oh my God, that was like a 5-star hotel.
Really?
And Mary Stewart.
Gone are the days, yes.
Oh, you know, sometimes these days when I hear what goes on at Makerere, I'm like, what happened? So we would, for us in agriculture, our course should have been 4 years, but it was 3 years. So it was intense. Therefore, by 8, classes had started, and those classes would go on until 6. So the women in the kitchen, the dining room, knew that the agriculturists would come late, so they would keep our tea, and most often than not, would have both our tea and our dinner at the same time. During those days, of course, they would give us for tea with milk, and plenty of bread. Now, the ladies doing other courses would eat maybe one slice of bread, and they only eat the inside. For us from agriculture, we demolish everything. Then we have our dinner, and of course we would go to sleep early because you have to wake up very early, and once again you'd be in class. So very early in the morning, these women would already be there. Agriculture, come and eat. So they would give us, we had a table where we would quickly sit and we would have breakfast, where we would eat things like subusa, like, of course, bread and butter, and eggs were a constant part of our menu.
I'm imagining.
Yeah. So about the scholarship, then they would, after they have given you the full board and they have paid for your tuition, they would then give you a voucher for books. Then you go to the bookshop, pick up all the books you need. But then, like 2 months later, they would give you money for upkeep. We used to call it boom.
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 So even one day, would know when boom was coming in, then they would stock those things which they thought that the students wanted to buy. But in my case, having quite a number of siblings, the boom went to pay school fees for my other siblings.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's life.
I know. So you could keep the little money, the little savings, you send them to your siblings to study. How are they today?
Many of them are okay, are fine. Quite a number of them graduated. Because at that time, you know, when you are young, you can do certain things. One of my brothers goes to Namiyango, and of all things, the first thing he learns is smoking. Fortunately, somebody snitches that to me, tells me, you know, so-and-so has started smoking. So I went to his school and told him, I'm here to do only one thing. I'm here to give you a choice. Between cigarettes and my school fees, choose one. And whatever you choose, I'll respect it. So by then he was young, so he listened, gave up on cigarettes. And I completely forgot about it. Now fast forward, like 30 years later, he has a big daughter who tells me what I did to his father. The father was saying, that woman, she was so tough when she was young. I had started smoking, but the reason I don't smoke is because of her.
Wow.
Yeah.
God has been so good to you.
Indeed.
Imagining getting those scholarships, then you also support your siblings. What a blessing. So how did you finally join politics after studying? Did you have those dreams while studying?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say one little thing about how I joined agriculture. As I've told you, I'm a farmer's daughter. So after senior 4, I'm looking for a vocation job, which was, I think, 3 months. And I went to Wandegeya, that is where the Ministry of Livestock and Sese Control was. I get there, by then the head of department of Sese Control was a Mzungu called Dr. Wolf. So he said, what do you want? I said, I'm looking for a job. Looks at me and says, so what can you do? Looks at around and is like, can you use a sewing machine? I'm like, yes. I said, are you sure? I said, yes. So he told the girl who was on the sewing machine, you stand up, let her thread that machine. Within less than 2 minutes, the sewing machine was just going, this Mzungu is like, you got the job. So my interview took 2 minutes.
Really?
Yes. And I told you how Iganga and Gaza taught us those home management things.
Yes.
That's how I got my first job. So I stayed with that job and went back after senior 6 and did it. Then after that I left, went to Makerere and did what I did. And after Makerere, we were always, because I graduated during the meantime, was supposed to work with government. But I didn't want to work with government. But they insisted I went for this public service interview, which I'm told I passed. They offered me the job, which I declined because by then I had already got a job with Uganda Development Bank. And I went on with my life. Now, 13 years later, I became Deputy Minister of Agriculture.
Wow.
And when I get to the ministry, the clerk in the registry was very happy to bring my file. Madam, you remember this interview? We still have your file. It was just a funny day. So that for me, whatever I've done, I have always stuck around farming, agriculture. So how did I join politics? During the Amin days, and the Obote too, things were so bad that every Ugandan was determined to contribute something. So at that time, I became the chair of the non-government organizations for women. Because normally people say non-government organization means government in waiting. So in the process of leading the women, somehow I found myself into politics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was actually, you're in a different party from your father, right?
Yes. But my father, because my father was UPC from beginning to end. Even when NRM came, my father didn't join NRM. He died UPC. But when I joined politics in 1980, I was DP. And I first talked to him and he said, this is your life, this is your choice. For me, I don't care where you go. You are my daughter, I'll support you. And he actually did. So, of course, as you know, 1980, things went the sideways. So in 1986, when I became Deputy Minister, when I called him, he's like, I have always known you are going to end up in politics, and I will support you. So when I was in politics, at the 1986 to 1995, the elections which took place, my campaign manager was my father.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. He understood your manifesto.
Yeah, he understood, and two, he was in the constituency, so it was easy for him
and
to say.
it's good at times to vote ideas, not parties.
Exactly.
You need to also vote ideas once in a while. So you're a minister, You're also member of parliament, right?
Yes, at that time.
You're in DP and you're also a minister.
No. After 1980, and what happened in 1980 and all that, I quit DP. I became independent.
Okay.
I quit DP because, you know, when you are, in fact, I'm sorry for you young people with these parties which are going on, because you are in your formative age. It is good to know today I'm here, tomorrow I will be here, and then the other day I will be there. But this politics of today, you wake up in a green shirt, then tomorrow you come to me wearing red, then the other day I'll see you in yellow, and I'm like, where?
Like a chameleon.
Exactly. I'm really sorry for you children, because it becomes very difficult for you to say, like I told you last year, or like I told you last time we were here. But
I
that
know.
is life.
So what pushed you to quit politics that early?
The reason I was Minister of I was Deputy Minister of Agriculture from 1986 to 88. 88 I became full minister. And between 88 and 95, I did practically everything that I wanted to do. The first thing I wanted to do was professionalize that ministry. How? I got so many scholarships and told everybody, whoever wanted to go back to school, because I told them science is dynamic. It changes every 7 years. That is one. Two, you are human. You forget. So if you were in school 10 years ago and maybe you have forgotten half what you learned, and then it is science, half has already changed, you are no longer a scientist. So go back to school. So nearly everybody went back to school. And during those days, people went to school and actually came back. And of course, the government gave them scholarships. So these people, the officers went to school, they came back. I wanted to change the way they are handled. Because, you know, the technical people in any ministry are the ones who do the work. I normally don't like it when a minister stands up and starts publicly blasting the whole ministry. Oh, you see, these people are thieves and all that. If they are thieves and you are the head, that means you are the chief thief. So don't, you know, these are your children. For those of us who like football or whatever game, if you are the captain, you are supposed to consistently side with your team. You can never denounce them. You don't. You go onto the field. There's Arsenal and Manchester. Then you see that one is not doing well. You start supporting the other. Honestly, so I supported my team full time. I went and found a way of changing their titles. So we had Director General Agriculture, we had directors, we had commissioners, and everybody really was working with a step in their step, with a spring in their step. Then when it came to money, we, like everybody else, we are getting the same amount of money, but my ministry had to be paid the last day of the month. If I ask, like today is the 3rd, if I hear that they have not been paid, then I will not go to Entebbe. I would go straight to Ministry of Finance to find out what has happened. We cannot keep checking our banks when the money is not there. When you are going to travel, because here, as you know, I came with a driver. There is no way, no reason why I should leave to go up country with a driver whose money has not been paid. What is he going to eat? Then 3, when I would go up country, for example, I had told the officers that your job is to book my hotel and work with me during the day. After work, which is 5 o'clock, I'll look after myself. Because apparently when they used to have the male ministers, they would have to look after them, take them to bars and buy beer for them. And I told them, if any of you ever thinks, even if you just mention it, that you are going to buy beer for me, you'll be jobless. Wow. So at the end of the day, my ministry officers were very happy, they were respected, and you know, the promotions were real. You get quite a number of them came back with their masters, you get a promotion. Then it was really a wet ministry. I know. Like a district like Iganga, I remember, just that district had 6 vehicles, and all of them in good shape. So you had no reason not to work. There was money which is supposed to be used in order to actually implement things on the ground. That money had to go. Because twice a year, we would have a meeting where we bring all the district heads to Entebbe. And I ask, how are you doing? What is not moving? And if, for example, the money has not come, oh, God help Africa.
Wow. So how was the journey of politics, the time you spent into politics? Maybe in a few seconds about it. How was the journey?
My journey into politics was a joy. Because, for example, when I went to stand for parliament first time, I was elected unopposed. Then when I was minister, as I told you, I was Minister of Agriculture, and it was really a wet ministry. If I wanted money, it was there. That is how and why we were able to organize the agriculture competitions, which had no code in the budget, so there was not even 1 shilling coming out of the budget. But the agriculture competitions of the early 90s were so successful that those people who won would go, like a team of 10, would go to the United States for 6 weeks. You arrive in the United States, you are given $6,000 because you are there for 6 weeks. And you are told you can stay in a hostel, or a single room, or whatever. The choice is yours. 6,000 shillings, sorry, dollars, United States. Then those who went to the UK, then those who went to Denmark, Egypt, Zimbabwe, Nairobi, and some toward Uganda. But all that, we did not have a single shilling from the budget. Because the ministry was delivering so well, most of these donors who had money really had trust in us. And of course, I don't mind telling you this. When these farmers would come back, let's say from the US or from Denmark, the ambassadors would say, oh, I would like to visit one of your farmers. And of course, they would go there, and this farm is really there. So next year, we get even more money. So when you have a happy team, when you have a technical team which feels respected and loved, these Ugandans we see can perform miracles.
Yeah, I know. They are. So, Honorable, if you look at Uganda today, if the clock was to be rewind, what some of the things you'd change?
I think the first thing I would have to do is what I did that time. Make sure that you are in that position because you are qualified. Because there is nothing which undermines respect and morale and whatever than being led by somebody who doesn't know what you are doing.
True. So those are some of the things that change. There's even a lot of corruption. A lot of things have changed today. The economy is...
Most of that corruption, like I've said, wouldn't thrive if it wasn't at the top. For me, that is the way I look at it. Because for us, when we were there, the first thing the president said, for example, is that we do not... First of all, you do not deliver a speech of CAF because we are a team. And whatever goes wrong with you as a cabinet minister, we are together with you. Now, how can we protect you if we don't know what you said? That is one. Two, the ministers, their job was policy. It is the permanent secretary who handles money. Now, when you are a minister and you start, fumbling with money, ordering this and ordering the other, when you order somebody to give away 2 cows and they give away 5, how will you know?
Anyways, Honorable, today we are seeing youth. I'll talk about youth because this program, our aim partially is to inspire the young generation. Today, many youth are unemployed. They have lost hope. They are drug addicts. They have given up. They are desperate. They have depression. How can we help the young generation?
I don't think the word should be help. For me, the word is let everybody do their job. It's as simple as that. Because I told you that when I was young, there was no way a child could just disappear. We knew where the children were. So let us, my grandmother used to say, my eye is on you. So who is keeping their eye on these young people? You know, like when the results of P7 came back, for me, my concern was mostly with the 1 million missing from P1 to P7 than these ones who had got to 4 or had... I mean, they are such tiny minority. And unfortunately, for as long as we continue with democracy, and we are going to continue with 1 vote, 1 person, 1 vote, they are the majority, you know who they will elect. So while I'm busy saying, oh, you see, put qualified people, qualified according to who? Because as far as the majority who are actually P7 dropouts are concerned, that person is qualified, speaks the language they understand, does the things the way they have grown up seeing. So for me, that is a big worry. That is why I'm saying let everybody do their work. You know, right now we are a lot of talk is going on about how expensive schools are, and how some schools cutoff is too high and all that. During our days, you came from tiny schools. Most of my age mates and those who are in their 60s, when you ask them where they went for primary school, they are tiny little schools. What has happened? Let us go back there and make sure that whatever little school you go to has got the facilities, has got a qualified teacher. Because yesterday I was listening to TV and they were talking, no, sometime back, they were talking about primary school teachers who should go back to university and get degrees. Before you emphasize those degrees, let us motivate the nursery school and the primary 1, primary 2, primary 4 teacher. Because that is where we form into what we are going to be eventually. Most of us, I told you, those schools I used to go to, where the language was difficult, the schools were really good. They were doing their job. That is why when the major exam came, I actually passed.
All right.
Yeah.
So Honorable, are you for the last 25 years you've lived, within yourself, do you feel you're satisfied? Do you feel you're contented with the little success God has given you?
As a person, I feel contented. In fact, I've said this before, I'll say it again. If I was to live my life all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. Right now, I am contented as a person, but I'm unhappy as an old person, because what I had as a dream for Uganda is not what I'm seeing.
I know.
Was like seeing all those young people who are just there. You know, as I was coming here, I saw some, now and then you see state council arresting those children on the street. As I was coming along Entebbe Road, I saw quite a number of them, and I'm like, what is the source? Maybe one should go to the source. So it goes back to what I was saying. Let everybody do their work. We have got a minister for children. Where is the minister for children when those children are in the rain, hungry? We are talking about school, going to school. Each Ugandan child is entitled to going to school. Where is means of education when your young children are out of school? The other day, a child burnt another child. I don't even want to think about it. It makes me want to cry. Most of this is because we have left those things which we should teach our young people, and we have taught them how to kill, how to revenge. Where is Uganda going with that? Because like I've said, those people will eventually be the majority. Then where shall we be? And where will you be? Because by then, they will be the majority, they will be in charge, and you'll be the old person.
True. So Honorable, how do you intend to spend your remaining years? What's your desire, that burning desire?
No, for me, when as I was working, in fact, the moment I started working, I started preparing for my retirement. What I do is I promote private libraries, community libraries. And what I do is, if you have a place, I contribute books, you run the library, people come, young people come, borrow or sit there and read and go home. And when I have time, one of the things I love doing is just sitting down with those young people and reading with them. That is one. Two, I teach public speaking. Because quite a number of people, especially your age mates, you go to school, especially the scientists, you go to school, you do very well, you graduate, then we are having this meeting where we are talking about maybe mosquitoes. And even if you are the best entomologist, you cannot stand up and pitch, you know, something to say what we can do about mosquitoes. Basically because the schools which taught us debating and public speaking have stopped that. We are just chasing the 4 and the 8, and you are like, okay, you got the 4 and the 8. But when you open your mouth, we don't understand what is coming out. So I teach public speaking. Then finally, I intend to continue advocating for agribusiness and women until the day I die and I'm buried in my garden.
Wow. And we shall say, you've run your race.
Exactly.
You've kept the faith. So, Honorable, as we get close to the end of the show, what are some of the things God has done for you? I've heard your story. God has been so good to you. What are some of the few things you look back and say, yeah, here it was the grace of God?
First of all, giving me the parents that I had, because our mother was a former teacher and she was strict. At that time, we used to think we were really unlucky. How can you have such a strict mother? Oh, she was a blessing. Our father, as I said, was a former policeman who became a farmer and brought us up well knowing that money is earned, you work hard, you are rewarded. And so the first and most important thing I thank God for is having my parents who are also Christians. Because people who are faithless are a bit difficult to deal with. Then, in the process, I thank God for all those good schools where I took me to, where I met friends who are still became my sisters. Then I thank God for my siblings, because some of my siblings are so nice. You have a problem and they drop everything and they are just, you are the priority and whatever. The reason some people go off the rails is because of lack of social support. So I thank God for all the good people He has brought in my life. And I thank God for all that He has enabled me to do. Because in the process of doing what I enjoy, some people think I'm helping them. And they love me so much that sometimes I'm surprised the things they are ready to do for me. Finally, I always thank the good Lord above for having lived the life I lived as an adult. Leaving the bank when I did, I had been serving in the bank for 13 years. Then God takes me to politics. And before 10 years, God is like, never mind, the world is bigger, come into the UN. Then most of these countries we have been reading about and hearing, you go to Zimbabwe is beautiful. You go to China, everybody at that time wanted to go to China. So I have been blessed. But on top of all that, I was blessed with a fantastic husband. For me, I tell people I did not know I was married to an angel until he died.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So whom do you attribute your success to at the end of the day?
God.
You've walked a life of a testimony.
Yeah.
Do you have any contribution that you look back and say, yeah, in my time, I did this for God. In my time, I gave in this contribution for the kingdom of the Lord?
You see, when we talk about God, or even when you read the Bible, in the Bible, a lot of times you hear God sent this angel and God sent that angel. The one thing I have come to realize is that when God wants to send angels, He does not go and manufacture them there and then and send them. The angels are normal people like you. So God wants you to do something. Like the other day, there was a very important meeting going on where manufacturers were supposed to meet, be trained, and at the end of the training, you get the money to improve, carry on, promote your farm. As I was shopping, this young man comes to say hello to me, reminds me who he is, and I'm like, so what are you doing here? And he's surprised why I'm asking. You should be, I thought you were in this meeting. Said I did. Fortunately, I had my phone, I get it out, I send him the invitation, and he had 2 hours to get into the meeting. He got to the meeting, he did the training, and got the money.
Wow.
So when he tells his story, he says God sent an angel, and that was me.
Of course.
Yeah. Then another time, I had this young lady, friend sort of, aged about 20, 21, who wanted to be a nurse. But it was proving to be very difficult because during those days, Uganda had not yet started teaching nursing at degree level. So as I'm seated talking to somebody, he says, I told him, which was the truth, I have never met anybody who wants to be a nurse, and that is it. That nothing else, doesn't want to be a doctor, but wants to be a nurse. But I have this girl here, that's what she wants. So he looks at me, he was a gentleman from Ghana, looks at me and says, where is she? I said, she's here. she will soon come back. So, like 20 minutes later, the girl comes in and I'm like, oh, that's the one. And if you excuse me, I don't know what I guess I was going to the kitchen. I leave them talking in the sitting room. In less than 30 minutes, this girl had got a school and a scholarship to go to the United States to become a nurse. Yeah.
Wow.
So once again, that for me, that is what I think God, like, because when I pray, I say, God, here are my hands. They use them, they are ready to do your work. So those are some of the things which God wants me to do.
Wow.
And I do them.
Do you have any scripture that you love most, that every time you read it, when you're about to give up, you feel like there is more hope?
And then first of all, for me, my motto is never give up, which is a Gayaza motto. But I normally end it by saying, never give up, because the Lord is my shepherd.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Once
so,
you have the Lord as your shepherd, what can you fear? What can you fail to do?
that's really amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have any regret in life, Honorable?
Maybe if they are there, I would remember them, because the other day somebody was asking me, and I was telling her that I was talking to this young girl, and I was telling her that when I was young, when I was at Makerere, I had a boyfriend who was an engineer. He was a nice person, had a job and all that, but he was not serious. So we agreed to go our separate ways. Fortunately, immediately upon graduation, I met Mr. Chektoleko, who is an angel, as I've told you, and I'm like, wow, thank God we separated. So for me, I have no regrets. I just thank God that that happened when it did, and I ended up where I
know.
did. Yeah.
You met the king of your heart.
Exactly.
Wow. What are your hobbies? What do you do in your free time, Honorable?
What I do in my free time is read. I read a lot, and that is why I wrote this book.
By the talk about it briefly, like maybe
Yeah.
1 minute.
Yeah. I read a lot, and that is why I wrote this book called The Farmer's Daughter. I wrote The Farmer's Daughter basically because, as I said, I want to spend the rest of my life advocating for agribusiness, but I cannot be everywhere. So I thought I write this book so that whoever wants to know about agribusiness in Uganda can read The Farmer's Daughter.
Once captured, maybe you can...
Okay. So what I am hoping is that people can read it, especially people who are either planning to invest in agribusiness in Uganda or who want to know about Uganda. Because Uganda is an agriculture country, and quite a number of books have been written about the politics, about the history and whatever. For me, I wanted a current book on agribusiness. Wow. As we talk now, I'm writing my autobiography, and I'm sure it will come out this year.
Wow.
But I spend a lot of time reading. In fact, it is the first thing I do in the morning and the last thing I do in the evening. Between 9 to 11 p.m., I'm reading. And because I read at that time, because there is very little interruption, and that is a lot of reading, 2 hours concentrated. Yeah.
They are. You can give us your last remarks.
Yeah. I would, I want to
greet your people.
Yeah. I want, the month of March is actually the Women's Month. I want to tell every girl, young or old, every woman, try and make something of yourself. Try and have something of your own. If it is school, if you are going to school, concentrate and make sure you learn something that will help you. If you have got a job, give it your best. If you have started a business, don't you give up just because somebody is taking too long to give you a license, somebody is overtaxing you. Just try not to be alone. Try to be a part of a network. Once you are part of a network, you have somebody to talk to. But whatever happens, never, ever give up.
Wow. Never, never give up.
Yeah.
I can't also give up. That's a word that I've picked from your advice.
Since you liked Gayaza girls, that's the Gayaza.
Those girls are so corporate. I respect. Every time I meet a Gayaza girl.
Are you married?
I'm still young, Honorable. I'm not yet married.
In that case, there is still time. That can be sorted.
All right. Anyway, thank you very much, Honorable, for honoring my invitation. It's been a pleasure having you on the Holy Drive.
Thank you.
These are stories that will keep on people's minds forever.
Okay.
We keep them on YouTube, even after 50 years. Your great children will always Google and they listen to your story.
Thank you.
So everything that you have recorded is going to be there for some good years.
Thank you.
I want to appreciate my producers, Mose and Hafizo, and everyone that has been behind the production of this show. Also Tyson, Shortcut, the entire crew of U24, thank you very much for the great work that you do. I love you so much. I can't forget to appreciate our dear viewers. You are the reason to why I'm always here. I usually get your feedback, I usually get comments, and I get reactivated. I get excited every time I find out that someone is being blessed by the Holy Drive. As Jimmy, I promise to always do my best. I always bring 2 different guests in this year so that we can see how we can motivate someone who's about to give up in life. You've heard people's stories, you've heard the different guests I've been having here, and everyone has a story to tell. I also have a story to tell, we also have a story to tell. Just keep on doing your best. At the end of the day, I know God will make a way. I can't forget to appreciate my people who decide me to come on set. That is Harsh at California Plaza, is on 07056 93428, and Musa at Capital Center RD15 is on 07088 94353. Without forgetting Damas at Parkview Level 5 is on 07027 56084. Thanks for watching us. I can talk, but for today let me stop here. I love you all as usual. Akume atakumira mpera.
Amen.